No, 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 no. Well, we shouldn't stop. Hang on. See what I can do here. Hi everybody, this is Brian from Military Mobility. Today we have the privilege to be with Terry from RV Wizards out of Salt Lake City. We just approached some soft sand here, so we're going to venture off this path and see how she does and some softer material. Another thing I wanted to highlight was Terry supports a few different nonprofits, Military Mobility being one of them, so I want to publicly thank you for that.
It was our pleasure. It was absolutely our pleasure. You guys do great work.
All right, with that, we're going to hit the sand.
You're good, you're just blowing.
Well, we shouldn't stop. Hang on. See what I can do here.
You might rock back some.
Do we need traction boards?
Maybe not yet. Why don't you go ahead and go back a little bit more and get what you're doing is uncovering wet sand, and it's got a little bit more solid to it.
Okay.
Yeah, it looks like traction boards are going to be it.
Okay. All right. Oh yeah, we dug ourselves down. We went and got ourselves good and stuck here in the soft sand. We ended up, we stopped with our momentum. So we're going to set this up to show how to do it. And we are really stuck now. So this is going to be a great scenario to show how to work out and use the traction boards. So what's happened is from trying to spin and get some traction, we've dug ourselves a hole. And what happens is because of the sand continuing, it becomes such an obstacle for the vehicle to climb up and out of, not only on the rears, but in front as well. So there's a couple of things we can do to help ourselves out. One is we're going to lower the air pressure in here. Again, G-rated tires, these things are really heavy, not a super amount of flex because this vehicle is designed for carrying such a massive load. But we are going to reduce it some, probably bring it down about 20, 25 PSI and start from there and see what that gets us. The next thing we're going to do is set up our traction boards. Now, most people, when you often see them on trucks, they only have 2 traction boards. It's better than nothing, but it's not going to do a whole lot for you if you're in a massive situation like this. So if you have a big area that you need to drive out of, you need to leapfrog these. I'm going to show you what we mean. It's ideal to have 8, and we happen to have 8 with us here today. These aluminum sand ladders, the best ones that you can get, we'll highlight this in one of our other videos, are very, very hard to find. They're the older World War II style. They're a bit wider and longer as well. This was the biggest ones that we could find currently in the aftermarket. You can really use them 2 different ways as far as traction. You can lay them out here, but it can tend to be a bit slick depending on what you need it for. For sand in this dry environment, it can work out well. If you're going to be in a muddy environment, oftentimes we'll recommend that you put them over on the side, and you can see how my shoe is now grabbing a lot better than the other side. So this being a dually, we're going to get what we can get, and we're going to split the difference, the traction. just like that. Now what you do with your second ones, I'll do the front. Because that's so massive. Let's turn this one upside down. If I just had this, if this is able to gain traction, it's going to bring me up and out. But what happens then? Well, then you're just going to fall right back into the sand and have the same problem you had before, unless you can get up enough inertia and momentum to carry yourself through. Now, if you're in an area like this where it just goes on forever, hey, it might be a lot of work, but it's better than being stuck here, you know, indefinitely. You set up these boards here. Now you set them and you put them underneath. You don't put them on top. Why? Because this can force it up. This could get trapped. It can start bending, breaking your body panels. It could be a bad day. Always keep these right here, so when it comes over, it'll be supportive and carry through. Side as well. What I'm doing is just removing some material. Drive. So it worked out. We're keeping our momentum to go through, and this momentum is what's keeping us going through this soft sand right now.
This corner is going to be your test right here.
Yeah. All right, man, that was cool. Yeah, it was awesome, bro.
This is funner than hell, man.
You know, and that's what I really love about doing this, because it has elements from being in the military.
Yeah.
About, oh crap, what do we do now? Yep, all right, this is getting heavy. All right. Well, just for everybody, I'm going about 17 to 20 miles an hour through this really deep sand right now, and just staying on the acceleration just to keep the RPMs where they need to. In this Ford F-450, I'm at about 2,000, just under 2,000 RPM, just to keep that driving force and that momentum moving forward until we can hit a better substrate to slow down. Thing where you can't just give it too much throttle, makes it dig.
Yeah.
Too much speed is reckless. Makes it bounce too much. Right around 20 is working out. More like an art than a science. Come on! No, 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 no.
Do that. I don't like that.
Woo! Man. Yeah, that's adventure. You were sharing something with me in a previous discussion we had, and I'm going to ask you if you could expand a bit more on it, but you were talking about how a lot of the symptoms of post-traumatic stress kind of fill that void, that empty void.
Yeah, so it's sort of a vicious self-feeding cycle. So post-traumatic stress is it takes up a lot of brain space, right? And so you fill up your brain space with the symptomology of post-traumatic stress that used to be filled up by, you know, your time as a in the military, doing whatever you did in the military, and now you're sort of out and don't really know what to do with yourself, and your brain's kind of not really figuring out what exactly it needs to be doing. So it starts to do the isolation behaviors and the hypervigilance behaviors. And this happened to me. So before too long, those things have not only become a thing that you fill your head up with, those things become your law. That becomes your truth. And so when people ask you if you want to go to a party, maybe for a while you say yes, and then you realize that there's 10 or more people here. No, I don't want to go. Then you realize there's 2 or more people here. No, I don't want to go. And when you're in that sort of head and you're filling your brain up with those thoughts, everything you believe becomes true because you're not feeding off of people. We're social creatures and we read people as we're interacting with them, and that's how we validate our own feelings. And when you don't have that, you're in your own echo chamber. And so basically what's happening is that you get this little germ of an idea in your head, and before long you've chewed on it enough that it becomes the absolute truth. And especially the guys who went over to the sandbox or Afghanistan and did one stint with the military, I don't think people realize exactly what that means, because like if you spend 20 years with the military, then you're
right.
in and out of it,
right.
and you sort of decompress
yes.
and normalize.
I agree with you.
But a lot of these guys are going as kids. I mean, they don't even have a whole brain made yet, you know. And they're going as kids. They go experience combat, and then boom,
and then you're back in civilian life. It's such a stark contrast. Now, I was doing it for almost 23 years, and I think you have that upswing, but because I'm not ever thrown back into civilian life right away, it's not as drastic, because as you said, you decompress, and now you're learning from the older guys, and you have that network of people around you, and I think that's one of the biggest differences, where you're not left to your own devices. And then on the other side of it, the long 20, 30-year career folks, they have their own stuff to deal with. Right? But that's a great point that you bring up. Because if you take, you're coming into the military, we go through the indoctrination, the common thread of boot camp that we all have. And when you have these extreme experiences, you don't really have a base of knowledge to compare it to. And then you go right back, and that's just...
Right. And not discounting anyone's experiences, but in World War II, they had this time, like they would be in combat, and they'd be in sustained combat for years sometimes, but then they'd have a boat ride back to the States, and they could decompress.
Right.
And now you're on a plane, you're back in the States, you're at a mall in 18 hours from combat, and there's no chance to decompress at all. So
yeah, I've come back from experiences like that, and then all of a sudden I'm grocery shopping, and I'm in the line at the grocery store. I was like, what's going on right now? All right, so we're heading back towards the pavement here. Terry, we've had an awesome time hanging out with you on the trail today. Thanks for coming by.
It's been a blast, guys.
Yeah, awesome. So we're Military Mobility, Off-Road Expeditions and Training. Please let us know what you think down in the comments, subscribe, and hit that update button for new content. Thanks a lot. Now, you being an RV repair guy, what are some of the more typical mistakes you're seeing people make from the repairs that you're doing?
Trees. Running into trees. They're always running into trees. I mean, RVs they're not built very well. There's not really a monitoring agency like we build houses. It's a lot looser in RVs, so they can be built a lot less sturdy. And they kind of have to be, because it's a vehicle, so you want to make it light, but so the combination of that and them constantly trying to save money makes them a little bit susceptible to damage in general. But the truth is that even mine, which is a typical Thor Industries sort of medium range RV camper trailer, I've taken that thing to places that most people would say there's no way you can take that trailer there, and I'm like, yes, there is a way I can take it there, and I'm going to do it this way. And so the chassis on them, generally speaking, are pretty good. And that's what you're really concerned about when you're off-roading with them. What you got to be careful of, though, is trees. Trees will, you'll rake your awnings off, you'll cut your roof membrane on trees, and just all kinds of things, because you don't realize that the trailer is 2 feet wider and 10 feet higher than you. So you're driving under a tree thinking, got this, and it's dragging your RV the whole way.
Terry, what are the, barring injury from tree limbs and going off-roading over rocks and all that, I buy an RV, whether it's new or maybe I buy a used one. What are some improvements that I can make? I'm gonna tee up the first one and have you discuss on it. But what are some general improvements that we can make to improve our quality of life or get more performance out of the RVs? Tires are the first one.
Yeah,
let's talk about that.
Tires are probably the biggest one of all.
Because if I buy, I'm sorry to interrupt, but I buy a brand new one, like I buy a brand new car, those tires are great. I can ride them forever. But an RV is not the same way.
They're very, very low quality, very inexpensive tires, and they don't last very long. And they are absolutely crucial to RVs. In fact, you can pull your RV for the first year on the ones you get from the factory, but I would definitely recommend upgrading. And I would also recommend a TPMS system. They make some good TPMS systems.
That's the tire pressure monitoring system.
Yeah, tire pressure monitoring system. That the transmitters are actually the valve stem caps. So you just take your valve stem cap off and screw one of these on, and it transmits to the receiver.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so we don't have to take the tire off and do some fancy install like you'd want to do with the car.
Exactly. For a very simple solution, there's some really high quality ones out there that have repeaters that you can wire into your trailer if you need it, that repeat the signal from the tire to the receiver, and that is absolutely the number one upgrade that you can make to your camper trailer or toy hauler or fifth wheel right away. And the reason for that is I have never fixed an RV that had a blown tire for under $1,000. It's not happened yet. That's probably the first one that I would go for. And then I would also look at where the spring hangers are welded to the frame and how the water tank is situated in the unit. Because if the water tank is over the axles, which they mostly are, what happens is they don't support the water tanks enough, and it causes the little bit of support that they do have causes the frame to start bending inward, because of the weight that the tank is expressing.
Okay.
And so, what happens then is your tires start to wear out really badly because you get out of camber on your tires. And the second thing that happens is the lower web of the I-beam that is your frame starts to break away from the vertical web. So you definitely, if you get one of the like Forest Rivers or Coachman like I have, or a trailer like that, you want to take a look at that and make sure that your water tank is supported adequately. And the other solution to that is just not travel with the water tank full. But I boondock. I pretty much have to have a full tank wherever I go. The only time I ever plug in is when I find myself on a more than one day trip. I'll stop at KOA and plug in. But other than that, I'm in the backcountry where there's no plug-in, so I have to take a full tank of water, which causes all of this stress on the frame, which leads to damage. So make sure your water tank is thoroughly supported if you're going to carry it full.
And then we could bring it to somebody like you and have it beefed up. So if you're going to go off on these unimproved roads and be banging it around a little bit, you can now, you're essentially setting yourself up for success to have it for a long period of time before you have a major damage that would be more costly in the future.
Right. And And then, if you're back in the backcountry doing this kind of stuff, I mean, your enemy is being too close to trees. Your enemy isn't trees, but being too close to them is your enemy. But the other thing that you kind of want to keep in mind is that in the sort of mid-range line of campers, the toy haulers and that sort of thing, the slides and hinges really aren't adequate, and door keeps really aren't adequate. So you'll want to come up with a way to make your drawers and doors stay closed on the inside, because they bang around.
Okay, yeah.
And make certain that you have a good way of securing your refrigerator, because you'll get to your campsite and your milk will be on the floor.
Right. That's a great point.
And so just securing your load is quite important, and just sort of watch the connections of your cabinetry to your walls, because they start to come loose and you have to get them back against the wall and secure them more robustly if you're going to be in backcountry a lot. One of the greatest things that you can have with an RV is an impact driver, because you can run your stabilizer jacks up and down with them. And when you're in backcountry, you want your stabilizer jacks to be as far out of the way as you possibly can.
We learned that lesson.
Yes.
We know that one.
Yeah. So.
I mean, that's such a great point, talking. It's such a basic thing about securing the load, because those cabinets, whether it's magnetic latches or some of them have the push latches, when you're bouncing around, even though you're going to try to be controlled, it's going to happen because you're getting so off kilter. And because the cabinetry, it's not as solid as you might find in most residential homes. Pre-drilling, if you're going to put an additional latch on there that you have, or a system you like, make sure you're pre-drilling so you're not splitting the wood and cracking the wood and kind of doing more damage ahead of time.
What I like to do is use the anchors that so instead of just running a screw, the RV cabinetry is made from MDF, right? And MDF is medium density fiberboard. It's basically wood chips that are glued together into a sheet. And the thing about it is that because of that, the physics of that, they don't hold fasteners very well. And so you'll see a lot of RVs where the cabinet doors are sagging in the middle and that sort of thing. So what you can do is go get the little sleeve anchors that everybody tries to use in sheetrock.
The little plastic sleeve anchors, yeah.
Yeah, they don't work worth a crap in sheetrock because sheetrock's too soft, but in MDF they're actually just about enough. If you size the screw properly to them, then drill the hole for the little sleeve anchor, and then put a properly sized screw in it, and it's pretty solid.
Nice.
And then if you have more tools and equipment at your disposal, you can drill a 3/8 diameter hole about 1 inch deep and glue a hardwood dowel in, and then run the screw into that dowel, and that's even better.
Okay.
So there's a lot of different ways to beef it up so that you don't have to immediately, you build new cabinets for sure, and they don't weigh anymore, and you can build them out of pretty good material. But if you're going to go with the ones that it came out from the dealer with, then there's a couple of techniques that you can use to really kind of shore them up and make them a lot more solid.
Awesome. That's great. Another huge thank you to Marine Corps veteran Terry for being featured in Vets and Vehicles. We hope you enjoyed this experience, and hit that subscribe button to be notified of new adventures. Thanks again, and we'll see you soon.